Ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Okay, nice to see you again. This is the second session. I was having a mistake. I thought it was 9 o'clock Bali time. So I was started myself before at 9 Bali time. But then I realized that it is Jakarta time, which is 10 o'clock here in Bali. Right. Now we have the second session. So the second session will be talking about differentiated instruction. Before I started, let me ask you several questions about what we had before. And also, I gave you a book through your, through the Koti. Did you receive that one? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can read that one as a kind of edition of the material that you have at the moment. That one is a book that I wrote a long time ago, but it is summarizing the strategy of teaching or the method of teaching that is, what is it, used for so much and so long in teaching English as a foreign language. So I will not repeat what is stated in the book because also those method of teaching have been introduced when you are in undergraduate student, but you can also read it yourself because of the time limitation that we have. So I will emphasize on the innovation in language teaching that have been existing at the moment in the context of teaching and learning. So that's why I emphasize on the new method on innovation that must be understood and also that can be considered in the choice of certain method that you use for your student. Okay, so before we start to the new topic, let me ask you just to review what we had studied last week. And last week I gave you a kind of overview about general introduction about how we are going to choose the method of teaching. Because as you know, we have so many methods, new method available at the moment. But of course, Indonesia, we have to refer to the national Indonesian goal, the national education national goal, which is how we have to build a student in order to be competent and at the same time also to have nice character. So you have the obligation to insert character values in your process of teaching and learning. Okay, before we go further, let me ask you a question just to review what we had studied last week. What are the factors that you need to consider if, for example, you have to choose certain method? What must be considered? What must be come into your consideration when you have to decide to use the method of teaching? Anybody can tell me, please? There are several aspects or factor that you have to consider. Tiara, can I ask you opinion about it?
Sure, ma'am.
Yes.
So there are actually there are two factors. For the first is internal factors, and for the second is external factors. Internal factors refer to because of the internal factors, why the process have to or should change. It's because at the old method is referred to theoretical and many teacher as the center of the learning process, while of the external factors is about it refers to the needs of 21st century of education. So because there are a lot of methods that as we know, the important thing is we have to know the learning objective so we can appropriate the method and the needs of the students. That's all from me, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. So what was informed by Tiara is that internal factor and external factors are the two factors that you need to consider. The first one, internal factor, dealing with the existing phenomena that have been occurring at the moment, where teachers are mostly using teacher-centered, right? So the student need to be involved more, right? So you need to think about how you choose the method so you are able to emphasize student-centered learning, right? That's the first one. The second one, external factor. We cannot deny that the influence of the technology and also 21st century development is really very fast, and then you have to accommodate that one, right? So you have to think about the learning and innovation skill. Learning and innovation skill consists of 4C. What are the 4C? Zaini, please. The 4C, the first C is? You are still muted. Zaini, you still mute? Yeah.
I'm so sorry. The first is communication, is critical thinking,
Creativity.
creativity, and collaboration.
Right, very good. And also lately, there are two more C that must be added. What are the two C? There are many versions of the other two C, but what was discussed before, the two C that you have to add beside the 4C?
Computational thinking.
Yes, very good. Computational thinking and
Compassion. Connectivity.
Conversion. Connectivity is more like collaboration. Right. What does it mean? Now, you talk about communication. What is meant by communication here? So if you are teaching at the moment, especially English, you have to really consider that the type of English that you have to teach to your student is that English that is used for meaningful communication. What does it mean? You cannot teach your student about grammar only. That, for example, your student can get high score but cannot make communication, right? So you have to be able to teach in order your students are able to use their language for communication. So you have to teach meaningful English, which means that you have to teach your student not only to understand about the language, but also being able to use the language for communication. The first one. Collaboration, what does it mean? Here, collaboration is not only group work, isn't it? Teachers and some students think that collaboration is only sufficient if the teachers give you the activity in the form of group work. It is not only a group work. Why? Because if you are teaching in order your students are able to make collaboration, you are also needed to empower certain values. Say, for example, how you are able to say something in order you are able to persuade people, in order to have acceptance of certain ideas, right? Because collaboration is how we are able to make negotiation, how we are able to build network. So other skill, certain values need to be added in there. Say, for example, in a group work, how group work must be designed so then the students are able to make collaboration. So you have to think about it. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is needed in order to solve problem, right? So how the students are given certain cases, for example, in the process of teaching and learning. So then the students are needed to solve problem, to give solution to any case happening in school or in the environment. So those kind of skills are needed. And the last one, creativity. What I meant creativities? There are new ideas. There are new inventions, small one. For example, it doesn't matter. If, for example, you ask your student to make a project, for example, they don't need to copy what is the example provided, but you are giving your student chances to have their own new idea. The example provided by the teacher is only a kind of model, what type of product. But then the student need to be given chances in order they are able to create new thing, right? So all of those must be inserted in the process of teaching and learning. In order to be able to do that, you have to apply a certain paradigm that you have to be able to empower in the process of teaching that you have. We are shifting now before we study about pedagogy, where the student is considered to be just small student, young learner, so they are not able to decide themselves. So here, the teacher is the one who are leading all the time, right? So the students are passive. From pedagogy, you go to, what is the next one? Noveli? From pedagogy, you go to, anybody can tell me?
Andragogy, ma'am. Andragogy.
Yes, very good, Risa. Andragogy. So what is that andragogy? That's briefly one sentence, Risa.
Adult learner, ma'am. So the student is considered as adult learner. They can, they should be a problem solver. They can choose what they want in classroom.
Not yet a problem solver, I think, self-regulated, right? Yeah. To be able to regulate themselves, to direct themselves, right? Very good. And after that, even andragogy is not enough. So you have to consider what is after that?
Hutagogy, ma'am.
Hutagogy, very good. What is that?
Self-learner.
Yeah, learning autonomy, right? Autonomous learner. So the students are becoming problem solver, right? So how the students are given the chances in order to be able to solve the problem, so they are able to be autonomous learner. So you are introducing what is meant by learning autonomy. You are practicing learning autonomy, right? Because they are able to do that, so you start to improve or to maximize pedagogy. So what is pedagogy?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Noveli?
Yes, pedagogy is where the learners can interact with the other student. It's like the center.
Yes, very good. The students are able to engage with other students, to build networking, and then the word from peer. So how you are making collaboration. And the last one nowadays, we are in the era of technology, isn't it? So without you realize, we have to accommodate technology, and your student must be provided with technology-based method of teaching, which is, for example, how your students are able to survive in a technological based environment. I will give you, have you ever used word wall and also Kahoot in your process of teaching and learning? Anybody, what is it? Have ever used about those one? Not yet? Not yet.
Me, ma'am. I have
So,
ever
okay,
used
Tiara,
from
what did you use?
from my lecturer.
Yeah, what do you use?
It's used for answer the question.
What was that? Kahoot or?
Kahoot, yes, Kahoot.
Right, very good. So what is Kahoot actually? Kahoot is
one of
method.
media. Yeah.
In order, what is the purpose of Kahoot? The purpose of Kahoot is how you are able to engage your students. So it's more for improving engagement. Why so? Because imagine before, during the pandemic, right? People are using technology a lot, but then the connection between the teacher and the student is not that good. So then the students are expected to be able to be engaged. So one of application that you can use is Kahoot. And the next one is word wall. Word wall is also a kind of media that you can, what is it, application that you can use in order to introduce vocabulary, or also can be used for teaching comprehension, for teaching reading. And then after that, you provide your student with, with games in there. I will give you next week. After today, I will give you the young line. Is there any other students who are using those one? Not yet? Not yet. Can you please be honest? Not yet? Not yet. Okay, it's so good. So I would like to give you step-by-step guidance of how you are able to use that one. I'll give you a template of how you are able to use it. And after that, I will ask you to make your own one. And then we have to do a kind of presentation next week or maybe a week after, how you are able to maximize the use of Kahoot and also word wall for your own student. So I will give you the procedure. You just follow about that one. And after that, you can show me. Is that right? And now what also is the, in dealing with technology, there are so many applications that you can use. And beside that, you are also demanded to make what is meant by assessment. Assessment also another issue that you have to think about. How you are able to assess your student in order your students are able to show their ability. So there are many applications as well. Have you ever heard what is meant by Flipgrid? Not yet. Flipgrid is an application where the students are able to show, to put their video. Say, for example, you are teaching speaking. You ask your student to make a kind of recording of video, for example, about teaching speaking. So you can ask your student to put it in a Flipgrid, and after that, other students can comment about it. So that is a kind of application which I also you can also try. And another one also is Padlet. Padlet is an application where you can also use it for displaying any kind of assessment that you have. So those examples are technology-based example of how you are able to use it for your teaching, right? So that is a good kind of technology where you are able to use it for your own teaching, and then usually students like it so much. So whether you like it or not, you cannot avoid that you have to learn the new technology, then you can use it for your teaching, right? Okay, so now we continue to the new topic. The new topic is about differentiated instruction. Anybody heard about that word? Not yet? Not yet? Can you please answer my question? Yes or no?
Not yet, ma'am.
Not yet. Right. Differentiated instruction has been introduced as a long time ago. I remember I studied about this one in 2008 when I was in Indiana University, United States, America. I was there and I studied about that one. I watched how differentiated instruction was implemented in the classroom at that time. So we are going to study about this one. And Indonesian government introduced about this one in differentiated instruction, and at the moment guru penggerak are demanded to introduce that one in their schools, right? So I need you to understand about that one, because I don't want you that you don't know and then the teachers are no more than you. So because you are master degree student, you have to understand what is meant by that, and you are able to give advice for teachers, for example, how differentiated instruction must be implemented. So differentiated instruction is translated as pembelajaran berdiferensiasi. If I'm not mistaken, the Indonesian translation, and guru penggerak nowadays are demanded to introduce about those one in school, and they are trained on how this differentiated instruction must be implemented in their school. Now let discuss about this one. I will explain about this one now. So if you are talking about differentiated instruction, you have two words here, differentiated and instruction. You can guess the meaning will be how the instruction must be differentiated. Why do you think differentiated instruction is needed? Anybody can tell me, please?
May I, ma'am?
Yes, please, Noveli.
I think this differentiated instruction need to be applied in today's classroom because we are already know that every student has their own characteristic and their own conditions. So the task that will be given to the student must be meet the need and the level of the skill of the students itself.
Very good indeed, Noveli. So what is actually the ideal goal of differentiated instruction is that the teacher must be able to provide the activities in the process of teaching and learning based on the student need. So the instruction must be adapted based on the student needs. What do you think? How do you think we differentiated this one? Just for the question, to elaborate what was explained by Noveli. Anybody can tell me? What do you think? Can you guess how do you think that the instruction can be differentiated? What do you think? How adaptation must be done? Anybody can tell me? Can you guess? What kind of differentiation that you can see in the classroom? That's the first question before you answer how. What kind of differentiation that you might find in your classroom if you teach? Or maybe if you do not teach, can you guess what kind of differentiation that you might find in the classroom?
May I?
I, ma'am.
Yes, please. And other student? Tiara, are you talking? Who was talking before? Who want to say something? What kind of differentiation that you might find in the classroom?
Ma'am.
Yes, please.
For example, the student characteristic, for example, is the student more like visual learner or audio visual learner? So the teacher must be able to accommodate their characteristic for every student.
Good. That is differentiation in terms of the style of learning, right? One student can be more, understand more if the teacher presented something visually, or other student might be more auditory. What is meant by auditory? Understand more if they are listening.
Yes.
Right? Okay, not look at, but listen. Right. Other differentiation that you might find? Do you think that they are also differentiated in terms of their competencies?
Ma'am,
Yes.
students sometimes also different in how fast and how slow they can comprehend a skill or knowledge that we are trying to deliver in the classroom.
Very good, Novelli. That the students, some of them are advanced, very easily understand what is explained by the teacher. Sometimes students are very slow, right? Left behind. Might be because they are having lower academic competencies. So that's why they are a bit slower compared with other students. So what is actually happening at the moment at school? Do you see that the teachers differentiated the instruction, or instead they teach using one book and equally treating the student? Which one do you think? Anybody can say something? Paria?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you
So,
say something?
yeah, I just add by Kak Riza and Kak Novelli with visual. So I mean, differentiation is we or as a teacher we should what is it to get all multi information to make our student to skillful of English. So based on your based on your statement before, ma'am. So uh yeah, and all I mean all research, all technology we have to give to the student to make them confidence in process of English learning, so they can speak with good English in international interaction.
Yes, I thank you for your opinion. Now, actually, I would like to ask about the existing situation at the moment. So do you think that the teachers in your place, in your area, or the teachers that you know has been able to differentiate instruction, or instead they just teach the student equally in the classroom? Anybody can tell me? Eva, please, do you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
I think teacher around me and including me still teach equally, and we still have no idea what is differentiated instruction is.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, most teachers actually at the moment treating the student in the classroom equally. How do they do that? They use one resource book, isn't it? Eva, am I right? So
Yes,
the
ma'am.
teachers teach the student from one page to the next page, task one. For example, all
Yes, ma'am.
students in the classroom do task one, no matter whether they are actually good in there, too advanced, or they are slow learner. They don't really care about that one. So no matter the differentiation happening in the classroom, the teacher just use one material for all. Okay, I would like to ask further, what will be the danger that if we are doing that all the time, if we don't do differentiation, what do you think that the danger? Suabidah, please.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So your question is about the dangerous. What is the dangerous when we do the teacher without the differentiated instruction, right,
Yep.
ma'am?
Yeah.
So I thought if the teacher treat the students equally, it will make the students that the smart students will be smarter and the slow learner will be left behind. Is that what I thought? Because when the teacher teach the basic, so the students that doesn't understand the basic will be left behind with the one who understand that. But when the teacher doesn't do the differentiated instruction, it will become it will become the students. No, I mean it will make the student very hard to understand the next topic of the lesson. That's
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand what you mean. So yeah, I think what was mentioned by your friend is like this. So if, for example, you choose the same material for all students and then without differentiating the instruction, the danger will be like this. If, for example, the material that you give is actually in the middle level, the student who are in the middle level will be able to attend because the material is in their level. But it will be too easy for those who are really advanced, who are really smart, right? If, for example, you give the material that is below their level, the smart student will think, oh, it's so easy. Oh, I can finish it in 5 minutes. And then what will be the impact to them? Either they are neglecting you, either they are bored. And if you don't really manage those students, we didn't know what to do because other students still doing their work. This group just do it in 5 minutes. And after that, they don't know what to do. Right? So they might be disturbing other students or they might be underestimating the material. Oh, it's so easy, I don't care, right? So other kind of problem will be coming up. But those who are left behind will be struggling. Why? Because it's above their level. And if, for example, you don't care about them, they will be left behind. Oh, and what is worse is that demotivated. They will not motivated to study. Why? Everything is too difficult for them. So usually these students just sit down at the back because they don't have any kind of confidence. Why? Because they don't know what must be done because everything is too difficult for them. So that's why it is so important how the instruction, the material, the activities that you give will be adapted based on the student need. But what is here? Yeah, easier said than done. Do you agree with this one? Why do you think easier said and done? Why do you think differentiated instruction is very easy to be said, but then it is not that easy to be implemented? Anybody can tell me why, sir? Do you agree with this one or do you disagree with this one?
May I, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Yes, please.
Rika or me?
Yeah, anyone, please. Both of you can say, but in turn.
I agree with this one because I have an experience when I was teaching a course, but maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, I forgot.
I was teaching a course at the time. We have a lot of methods, and then we have based on my friends said before that we have a lot of students that have different skill, different intellectual. Sometimes that students are smart. I mean, and the rest of them are slow learners. We make different, but it's kind of hard when we apply differentiated instruction to the students, because we need much time for that. At the time, I teach the students by using drilling method, ma'am, like repeated the word, and some students are so slow learner, and I need to repeat that words many times, but the rest of them who are smart, they are bored. They're boring. I mean, they're bored for the teaching and learning. So I think that it's hard to apply to the students, but it helps the other students who are slow learner, who understand our teaching. I mean, our material that we give to them. So I agree with that.
Yes, totally. What is it? I understand about it. I totally agree with you, Rika. Yes, if for some teachers, this one is really very true, right? Okay, another opinion? Who was raising hands before or want to say something? Rika, and who was before?
Me, ma'am.
Yes, please, Noveli.
Yes, in my opinion, ma'am, I totally agree with this one. And just like Rika said before, that teacher in the classroom is lack of time in differentiate the instruction, differentiate the task, and controlling the classroom. From my experience, even in a small group of students, it's still not that easy to apply the differentiate instruction and also the method that we are treating them. And I ever teach in a bigger class too in private school that consists of more than 30 students in a classroom, and that is really hard to give them different treatment. Even we are really want to give them more, since they are having being grouped in that classroom not based on their skill but on based on their age. They come from very very speed of learning like that we discussed before, and some of them like in the small level, in the very entry level like elementary school for grade 1 to 3, some of them may still not able to pronounce the letter correctly. And then even we introduce that in song like that, some of them still hard to apply what is already introduced by the teacher. That's in my opinion.
Exactly right, Noveli. Truly happening like that. So what are the challenges that we find out? You have to, you require more time, right? How, because you need also to prepare how you are differentiating the material that you give, right? And not only that one, you have to be able to also have better and also skillful classroom management. Let me give you example. How, for example, if you are teaching and your students are really in different level in your classroom, different level, not yet different learning style, different level, one differentiation only, different level. Some are really very advanced, some really average, some are left behind. So if, for example, you need to differentiate, you have to think about the strategy that you have to apply, right? You have to think about the strategy that you have to apply. What must be given to the students who are advanced? What must be the material that you give for the students who are in average level? What material that you have to give for those who are really left behind? So you need to differentiate about those one. Right. So how do you think that you can do that? Anybody have any ideas? Because this is the challenge that you are, what was on screen is those are the challenge. So by having those challenges and you have those reality, like I told you, some students are very advanced, some students are average, some students are left behind. You are alone in your classroom. You don't have any assistant, one single teacher for one classroom, and you have those differentiation. What do you think that the strategy and the classroom management that you have to apply? Anybody can give ideas? Anybody can have any ideas?
May I, ma'am?
Yes, please. Other than Noveli, Noveli is very active. Thank you, Noveli. I hope that other students can also give their opinion. Yes, Noveli.
Yes, in my opinion, ma'am, maybe we can differentiate the task or the outcome or the product that we ask the students to do on that. For example, for the advanced student, we can ask them to mention what are the things in the classroom, for example, and for there that are in the lower level of acquisitions than that one, we can just give them a task like in form of completing the blank letter like that. That's in my opinion, ma'am. Thank you.
Very good. You understand differentiated instruction already, but it doesn't show classroom management yet. It seems that it will be very crowded. Your classroom will be very crowded, isn't it, Noveli?
Ma'am, may I? But my voice isn't clear enough because I have
Yes.
inflammation. In my classroom,
Yeah.
I ever applied that kind of peer teaching. I mean, when I explain a kind of materials that is kind of complicated, I make them sit in a group like consists of 4 or 3 people, and with the advanced learner in each group. So when I explain it by mobile, like I walk around the class from table to table, and then explain it to each group. And with the advanced learner in each group, they can teach their friends. It's more like a peer teaching after that, because I think that the advanced learner like to being, when we relate them, it makes them more confident and they become more active in learning, and they become more like to share their knowledge to their friends. I think that's one of the things that I ever applied in my classroom.
Yeah, that is a good technique. But then do you think that you are using different material for each group? How do you differentiate it? What about the material for those who are really advanced? So because I see from your explanation, it seems that you are giving the same material, only the process is different, isn't it? Where the advanced students is given the chance to be the tutor for their own friend. Am I right, Grisia? Yes. So one criteria has been adapted. Right. But then now, if, for example, we want to give different material, because your students are different in their abilities, in their competencies. Right. What is implemented in my school is like this. Let me give you best practice that have been implemented in my school. The teachers, the first criteria that you have to that you have to prepare before you are teaching is that the first one, you have to have literacy-rich environment. What is meant by literacy-rich environment? You have some other kind of learning sources like books, like tasks, like novel for students in the corner at the back, right? So you have a kind of mini library and also for the student to read. That's the first one. The second one, you have to prepare your students with other kind of worksheet on different level, right? Worksheet, any kind of student worksheet for lower level, some worksheet for average level, some worksheet for advanced level. So you have to prepare first your students with different kind of sources of learning. The first one, I reconfirm once again, the first one, a variety of sources at the back, right? Or on the side of the classroom. It's up to the spaces in your classroom. The second one, you are providing student worksheet of different level. Other than the main material that you teach. This is additional material, right? Additional material. Those are the preparations before you teach. And then after that, you have to identify your student, those who are really advanced, and who are the students who are average, and who are the students who are left behind. So you have those criteria. The second one, you are identifying your student, advanced, average, and left behind. After that, you need to prepare your classroom. Do you think that you are able to move a bit your table or the chairs in the classroom? So you have to think about it as well. If, for example, you have a classroom which is too small, and then there is no spaces for you to move your table, it will be a bit difficult. So think about the classroom that you have, right? And after you are doing that one, and then you teach your student. So what kind of classroom management that you have to teach, for example? Now, those who are really advanced student is classified into one, and then you have the material for them. So you already prepared tasks or worksheet who are for advanced student, who are for average student, who are for left behind student. So you have differentiated task activities for your student, right? So what must be done? Those who are in advanced group will be grouped into, if your student is too many on this one, you can divide into several groups. If not, you can divide your student into one group. These students are given a kind of direct given instruction, and because they are advanced, they are able to do it themselves, right? They are able to do it themselves. You just give example what must be given, and then after that they are able to do it themselves. The next one is the average student. The average student can do their work with their peers. You can make it in pairs, or you can make it in a smaller group. So they are discussing each other, right? They are discussing each other. The advanced students before are given the chances to do it individually because they already smart enough to do it individually. For those who are really in an average group, the difference is their learning sources has been on their level. And then in the method of teaching, the classroom management, they are discussing in the smaller group, so they are able to learn from their friends and discuss what they have. And those who are left behind can be sitting down on the floor and work with you. The teachers is actually helping them, guiding them step by step. The first one, the material is provided based on their level. So then much easier compared with those who are really in the average level, and much easier compared with, of course, those who are advanced. So then this lowest group is with you. So even though you are alone in your classroom, you are able to handle those differently. Right. So do you think now what will be the impact of those kind of differentiation? What do you think that you can imagine the difference, that the impact that you are able to think about if you have that kind of differentiated instruction? What do you think?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, please.
In my classroom, I have do it the last stage, ma'am, with the left behind student for several times, because there are several students that are very, very slow learner. So I asked them to come forward and sit right next to me, about 3 to 4 students.
Yeah.
And I teach them slowly, very slowly, to their level. And I do that for several times, and the outcomes is very, very good. They are, from that practice, I know I have the data, I have the what is that simple analysis about what I need to do for every student, each student who is the slow learner. So I know what treatment I should give to them one by one, and that the outcomes is very good. They become better and better each day. So I really, really agree with this strategy to understand more about my student. And for the advanced student, they feel like I give them the responsibility by to themselves, so they give good outcomes too. And for average student, because they work in pairs and it's really what's that, suitable for them in their level, so the classroom is getting better and better. The outcome is really, really better, getting better, ma'am.
Perfect, Lisa. Very good. Yes, that is happening. And what is another impact in terms of the student character, do you think?
Yeah, for this slow learner, actually, maybe it's not because they are what is that, stupid or whatever, ma'am. Sometimes it's just because they are not confident with themselves. Actually, they can do it, but they cannot do it maybe in front of their friends because they are very shy or whatever. But with this strategy, we can dig more about their potential. So actually, they are good enough, but I need more practice to know their level. So they are become more confident, and that comes very good. Their achievement is getting better.
Yeah, very good. Yes, what we find out, this is, I told you, we did it in my school, right? So what is the impact that we found out? So this is not opinion. So this is, I just want to tell you what is the evidence of doing differentiated instruction. The evidence that we find out is that the first one, there is no student who are feeling too proud of themselves. No snobbish student afterward. Why? Because those who are really advanced, even though they are so smart, they don't feel that they are much better than the other friends. Because why? The assignment that they have to do or the tasks that they have to do are on their level. In the classroom, they feel they all really in the great challenge each other. They don't know that they are actually doing something different, right? So those who are really advanced didn't feel that they are much better compared with their friends. Why? Because the material that they have is in their level. Those who are left behind didn't feel that they are left behind. They are confident enough. They don't really have a kind of minder. No. So then we find out that every student really have good time. Every student really feel that they are really very happy in the classroom. That is so important in process of teaching and learning, because your student must be able to enjoy the time. They have to feel that the material is not too difficult. If they feel that they are too struggling, then they will be demotivated, right? So that is the thing that we find out. It's so good. It's so important. But like I told you, you have to be able to be skillful. Why? Because you are dealing with different group, different kind of phenomena in your classroom. This also make it possible for one teacher to teach the student who are in different curriculum. Several students might be grade 4, several students might be grade 5 in one classroom. You can do that. Why? Because you are able to differentiate your student, right? We do that several times in my school. The students are in one class coming from different schools, different group. We do that. Why? Because we would like to develop several characters. It's just a matter of how the students who are bigger can be also well accepted in the lower class, and how you manage. I understand and I realize that is a lot of challenges. It's not easy. And you need to provide a lot of learning sources so that every student will be able to develop their own. So what is happening actually? Why I ask you to provide the students with different worksheet in the classroom as a kind of additional learning material. So if, for example, a student in the group, low level, for example, or average or advanced, if they finish the task earlier than their friend, they are guided to go to the section at the back of the room to choose the next step of the worksheet. So they are able to choose themselves, right? So if, for example, they are in the middle average level, if they finish the task earlier than other students, so they submit the assignment that they just finished, and then because the other students are still working their work, so these students are able to take what is the next step of the assignment that have to be done, right? Similar to also student in other group. So what are actually being practiced in there? That is actually the stimulations of how the student are self-directed themselves. How they are able to direct themselves. Why? Because they know what will be the next task that must be done. They are able to choose themselves. Not only that, they are being responsible. Why? Because if they finish, they are not playing afterward. They are not disturbing other students afterward, but they go to the enrichment program, we call it. We call it as enrichment program. So the enrichment program provided in each classroom must also differentiate it. So you have to train your student how they are coming forward to the enrichment program after they are able to finish the task that they are given. So a lot of, a lot of practices that you can do, not only being able to direct themselves, not only to be able to find solution themselves, but also how to be responsible. They have to finish their work. Right, so that is only one example, one practices about how the teacher can provide the student in the classroom with differentiated instruction. So now we go on to this one. What experts say about differentiated instruction? It is a comprehensive and flexible process that includes the planning, preparation, and delivery of instruction to address the diversity of student learning need within the classroom. I told you already, we discussed about this already. Through differentiated instruction, teachers take into account who they teach, whether they are different ability, or whether they are having different learning style or different kind of differentiation. What they teach, whether the material has been differentiated or not, where they teach. Are all of you teaching them in the same classroom? Right? Or you might ask, if, for example, the students are advanced enough, you can ask the group who are advanced to go to the library. You provide them with the worksheet, what to do, so you can ask them to go to the library. Might be like that. Might be also all of them are in the classroom. And how they teach. That is what strategy that you use. So these are the words that I underline here, need to be really having consideration in your teaching. Who they are. Are the students are mostly in the average level, or do you have also how many students who are in the average, how many students are in advanced, how many students are really left behind, for example? What they teach, where they teach, where do you teach your students? Are all in the classroom? Or, for example, some in the classroom, some might be outside, or some in the classroom might be some in the library. Some in the classroom might be some in the creativity room, for example. Some in the classroom might be some are doing scavenger hunt, for example, searching something outside the classroom. So those are the things that you need to consider. Would it be possible for you to do this? Say, for example, you differentiated your student about the place where they teach, where you teach. Do you think that it is possible that some student will be learning with you in the classroom, some student will be searching some information in the library, some will be outside, for example, searching something outside, doing vocabulary game, for example. Do you think that it is possible? Do you think? What do you think?
If the student is, we can believe them, it's possible. Sometimes the students, you know, like they just do what they want, something like that.
Rika, that's the importance of providing with clear tasks. So if, for example, you have those kind of students, what you can do, you can provide your student with worksheet, isn't it? What must be finite? So you have to have clear worksheet.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So what will be the preparations that you have? Do you think that you will prepare a lot, isn't it?
Yes.
Prepare the worksheet for those who are really working outside the classroom.
Yes.
If you have some students outside of the classroom, you have a different worksheet who are working with you in the classroom. You have different worksheet who are going to the library. Am I right?
Yes. Okay. You got it, ma'am.
Yeah, but you are so busy, but you are practicing a lot.
Yeah.
Students who are really going in the classroom, what do you think that they will do? Self-directed learning, isn't it? Your role will be providing with a good worksheet. They are guided by the worksheet, what must be done, right? So they are preparing to do learning autonomy. The first, for example, you provide them with a worksheet, what to find out, where to find out in the library, for example, right? And after that, they are able to do something. So it is really good, but it is a lot of challenges and you will be so busy. Am I right? Right. Now, how we do differentiated instruction, right? If we only learn method, we are tied to this method. But if we learn principle, we can develop our own method. So that's why I told you that you need to know about what is the principle, what is the paradigm that you have to understand. So you have to understand the paradigm. So then you are more flexible in developing your own method, right? Why? Your student, because they have their own characteristic, so you are able to prepare your student based on their characteristics. So you can develop your own material. So if you want to know more about this one, you can read the book by Carol Ann Tomlinson. And if also you want to find out how it is implemented, you can search. I hope you can find out. I made an article long time ago, and it was published in the Journal of Thailand, but I don't know whether it is now available online. But it is, I wrote an article about this one, and it is published, I forget, in Thailand. It is giving a kind of ideas for them, and because I know the professor who are the chief editor of the journal at that time really appreciate those one, because I sent this article long time ago when differentiated instruction is not that well known yet in English as a foreign language, in a country, English as a foreign language, because the challenge is so big. So I introduced this one since a long time ago in kindergarten, because I have kindergarten in primary school. So we use this one a lot. And the teacher need to have a lot of preparation in order to be able to do this. So misunderstanding happening usually like this. Differentiation is a set of strategies. No, it is not a set of strategies. In reality, differentiation is a philosophy, is an approach. It is a kind of paradigm, a way of thinking about teaching and learning. It is, in fact, a set of principles, right? Another misunderstanding is that it's adequate for district or school leader to tell even so teachers how to differentiate instruction effectively. In reality is that learning to differentiate instruction well requires rethinking one classroom practice and result from ongoing process of trial, reflection, adjustment in the classroom itself. So it is really taking a lot of time for you to do it, because you need to do a kind of trial. Maybe at the first time you find out your classroom is chaotic, so you do a kind of reflection and adjustment in so many ways. So truly a lot of experience is needed. The next one, differentiation is something a teacher does or doesn't do. In reality is that most teachers who remain in a classroom for longer than a day do pay attention to the student variation and respond to it in some way, especially with students who threaten order in the classroom. However, very few teachers proactively plan instruction to consistently address differences. Yeah, some teachers sometimes just think about what they can do without preparing, without planning consistently. So because of that, you have to be able to prepare yourself. If, for example, you want to do differentiated instruction, how you are going to do it, what kind of learning sources, like I told you before. So a lot of preparation, a lot of plan must be done, and you have to do it consistently. Differentiation is just instruction, right? Now, in reality, what we can say is that although differentiation is an instructional approach, effective differentiated instruction is inseparable from a positive learning environment, high quality classroom, assessment to inform teacher decision-making, and reflective classroom management. To the degree that any one of those elements is weak, the others are also diminished. Exactly right. If, for example, you say that, oh, how can you, if, for example, you have a principle like this, oh, you cannot do that, you cannot combine, or you cannot mix the students who are from grade 2 and grade 1 in senior high school in one class, for example. If the curriculum implementation is like that, then how could you do differentiated instruction? You cannot. So you have to have high quality curriculum. What is meant by high quality curriculum? Curriculum who give you more flexibility, right? So you have to be able to have curriculum who are flexible. What is meant by flexible? The curriculum which accommodate any adaptation, any modification. Why? Because you need to adapt that one to the condition, the real condition in the classroom. So if you have not that kind of curriculum, it will be difficult for you to differentiate your classroom, to differentiate instruction. So a lot more subsystems need to be prepared in order to support the implementation of differentiated instruction. So it need to have a lot of a lot of consideration. The first one is the readiness, not only the readiness of the school, but the readiness of the teachers and the student. The second one is that it's also have enough interest. It will be difficult if, for example, the teachers will be commenting, oh, why must be taking those busy things? So instead, they can just do, for example, just teaching using the textbook provided. So if they don't have any interest, it will be difficult as well. People will be forced to do that. If, for example, people are forced to do that, and the result will not be that good. Learning profile. You have also to understand about this one, how the students are understood having different learning profile, for example. So you have to be able to consider those things in order to be able to do how differentiated instruction must be done. In learning style, like I told you, students can be having learning style in the classroom, right? So they might be visual learner, like before we discussed about it. Some students will be more dominant on reading and writing. They will understand more if, for example, they are given more chances on reading and writing. Some students are oral, for example, more auditory, understand more if they are listening. And some students are kinesthetic. The students are able to understand it better if they are asked to do it. More kinesthetic student. So with this learning style, you also need to adapt how the material will be given to them. Like I told you, it's really very complicated, need a kind of different classroom management. Differentiation can be also accurately describing classroom practice with balanced emphasis on individual student and course content. So this one also another one that need to be considered. How you are able to have balanced portion of treatment in the classroom, right? If, for example, you are too much on individual student, the course content might be neglected. So you have to think about how to balance those one. How you are able to help individual student at the same time, the course content is also okay, right? So this one also another one that you have to think about. Now, this is how you are able to differentiate your student. I think previously one of you already mentions about this one. Who mentioned about this before? So you are able to differentiate your student in terms of the process. You are after that, you are also able to differentiate your student in terms of the content. And it will be also differentiated in terms of the product that they made, and also it will be having different effect or impact, right? How student emotion and feeling impact their learning. So this need to be considered in your classroom. Like I told you before, if, for example, you neglect those who are really left behind, you have to think about what will be the impact. The student might be demotivated, right? Or might be the student will be too snobbish. So you have to think about the emotion, the feeling impact their learning, how this one will be happening. Right? So how this one to be done? So This is how differentiated based on the student need can be done. Anybody can tell me about this one? The template that you have, this is the example how that how differentiation can be done. Anybody can tell me? Explain about this one. Yes, please. What do you think? Anybody, please? Rizfa might be. What do you have? What is your opinion about this example of differentiation?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, please.
In my opinion about the differentiation based on student need, maybe as a teacher we have to make us like a plan to make what is it? As we know, pedoman or rules in teaching and learning processes, whereas we have to include on the process, include of content, process, product, and we have to know about the student need in our class. And we have to make list of readiness, interests, and also learning profile. So I think it's needed for student or for teacher in learning teaching processes for make better in the learning and teaching rules. Maybe like that, ma'am, to make structural for teaching processes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much for your opinion. Other student, please. Alfian.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, what is your opinion about this example? Can you explain what is meant by this one? It tell you something, yeah?
I think we need to adapting the content based on what the students' readiness achievement, like academic readiness, and also their interests and their learning profile. And about the process, I think we also adapting and how we conduct them by maybe individualized or pairing, or maybe like we made them in small group and based on their readiness, interest, and their learning profile, and also the product. Like the example, like the readiness one, we maybe give them the material by visualize like the video or photos or others, ma'am.
Thank you for your opinion. Other student, I would like to have one more student who give their opinion. Agel, please. Is that right? The way I pronounce your name? Yes, Agel. Agel? Is that right? Ya. Yang namanya tertulis sebagai Agel. Apakah benar? Can you give your opinion, please? No voice. Ikrimah, please.
Yeah, Ibu.
Yes, I would like to have your opinions about this one.
Okay. Based on my opinion, I agree with Ibu Rispa says that it should be the teacher's guideline to teach the students, but because as teachers, we need to do a lot of preparations, like you said in previous explanations, and because we need to adapt with the students' learning style, so that's why I think as teachers we can adapt with Tomlinson MBO. Okay, about this one. And for the content, for example, we need to make sure that the content is acceptable for the teachers, for students at any level, either they are poor in English or maybe better or best in English, and we need to make sure that the material for the material, I mean the content is suitable for them. And the process, we need to make sure that the process we give, we teach the students is also acceptable for any level of the students and also the product, ma'am. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all students. So all are having your own opinion. Now let me explain a little bit, clarify about this one. So if, for example, you apply differentiation in your classroom, the differentiation can be done in 3 ways. Differentiation in terms of the content, differentiation in terms of the process, and differentiation in terms of the product, right? This differentiation must be done based on 3 aspects. You have to consider the student readiness, you have also to consider the student's interest, and you have to also to consider learning profile. Okay, I repeat once again. So if you want to implement differentiation in your classroom, there are 3 kinds of differentiation you have to do. The first one, differentiation in terms of the content. I told you before, the content can be differentiated based on, for example, those who are for advanced student, for average student, or for the low level. The next one is that the differentiation can be also done based on the process. What will be the process? You might consider that, okay, the students who are left behind will be learning in the classroom with me, with the teachers, for example. Those who are really average can work together outside the classroom, and those who are really advanced students will be doing independent learning in the library, right? So what will be the differentiation? Also a difference in terms of the product. Say, for example, advanced student will be producing a kind of review, for example. The student of average student will be conducting a kind of summary, for example. Those who are left behind will be producing, for example, fill in the blank kind of tasks. So those kind of things can be done, but this one must be also done by accommodating whether you and your student are ready or not. So you have to think about the readiness. You have to think about the interest. Do you think that your student like it? You have to consider like that. And also learning profile. Do you consider that they are okay if, for example, they do that? Are they able to do it? Are they okay doing that one, for example? So those are the things that you need to consider. Now, my question, is it complicated? Do you agree with that? Is it complicated? Do you think?
Yes.
Compare with what you are doing and what the teachers are doing at the moment. Very complicated, right? So that's why if you want to do a differentiated instruction, you have to be able to be ready with this one. In my school, the teachers need to be trained for this one almost 2 years in order to be able to do it. Ongoing. They are helping. They are having kind of training by a kind of assistant teacher at least 2 years in order to be able to handle differentiated classroom. It's not that easy, very complicated. Some teachers are not ready with that one, because sometimes teachers are only, they are thinking that they are doing a kind of differentiated instruction, but only superficially, only in the surface level only, but not really implementing that one. So you have to be able to consider what kind of technique that you do, many technique that you can do. Remember, this is not a strategy, it's not the method, it is a principle, ways of thinking, right? So you can develop your own strategy method. For example, how you are able to differentiate the student in terms of the process. You can use different strategies. You can use many kinds of strategies. For example, in the library, those who are in the library, for example, you apply direct learning, independent learning. For those who are really working outside the classroom, for example, you can ask the student to do a kind of group work, right? For those who are in the classroom, another type of learning that you can give as well. So they are really very different. So it depends on how you are able to prepare your student. Right. Until that point, now I give you time to ask question. We still have about 5 minutes. Now you can ask question. If you still have question about differentiated instruction, I can what is it? I can provide you with answers and we can discuss the question. If I cannot answer your question, I can lead you to read some material in order to answer the question. Anybody like to have question? Yes, please.
I have a question. Actually, I have used this method, like differentiated instruction.
Yeah. It is an approach, yeah. It is an approach, Rika.
Yes,
it's
an
not a
approach.
method, right? Okay.
Yes.
Ways of thinking, a philosophy, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I use that actually in the adult class, which are they have different intellectual too, and then some of them are slow learner, but not too much. It's not all of them. Most of them are so smart, but just two students, I think, at the time. But I just make different instruction, like the material that you say before, like this one for the smart and this one for the slow learner. But I just focus on the slow learner students, and the other students feel so jealous because I just focus on one. And we say that they just learn by themselves because we all already know that they are so smart, so they can do it by themselves. So how we overcome that if they feel jealous? So how we like provide everything, like our energy or dedication to the slow learner. So
right.
how is it, ma'am?
Okay, number one, this is based on best practices that I introduce in the school that I handle, right? I'm lucky that I have the chances to have I build a kindergarten. I have a kindergarten. I make it myself, which is bilingual, internationally standard. The second one, I also set up a school, primary school, North Bali Bilingual School, also become a very high standard school. I also have a diploma school for tourism. So I have a lot of experience in dealing with younger students. So dealing with the questions that you have, Rika, number one, philosophy that we have to remember that I think that it is also a kind of best practice that I find out in my school, that we have to deal with positivity. So we have to be always have positive positive ways of thinking. What is meant by this? Number one, avoid to label your student. You cannot label your student. Oh, you are as advanced student, this is slow learner. You cannot label your students. Why? Because nobody like to be labeled, especially to be negative. You have to think about that one. So don't label your students. The second one, you have to see it from positive side. For example, if your student I would like to be with you, I would say like this, well, because you are really able to handle yourself, to be independent, I think I can trust you that you are able to do it. If you have any question, you don't hesitate to come to me, and then later I can help you. But at the moment, you are because you are able to help yourself, you are capable to be independent, please do it. That will be good for you. So I can say that. Or I will be coming to you later after I'm done with this one. Of course, you will not be spending all of your time with your left behind student. Of course, you will be needed to come also check your student in a different group. So if you are able to use positive words, I think your student will be so happy, because they are really highly appreciate the recognition that the teachers give. Let me give you an example. You can also search my journal on my article on rewards. It is published in ASEAN EFL journal. I think the type of rewards to be given to students, I think that is Scopus Index. I don't remember, a long time ago. I read article about rewards. So you can see that the students who are given or who are appreciated by certain kind of reward, they will be so happy. Did I tell you that? When I was the head of the Japanese department in my university, I teach my students how to be able to be responsible, right? So in my class at that time, I also make a kind of policy that any lecturer who are in the classroom need to provide not only academic score, but also you can choose 1 or 3 students who are really the best character students, right? The students who are showing the best character. Why? If, for example, we decide to have, for example, mahasiswa berprestasi, kita tinggal mengambil mereka yang akademiknya bagus and also memiliki karakter yang bagus. Okay, so we also observe the student, we give the student will kind of responsibility and see whether their character are showing good character or not. So we also observe about this one. With this kind of thing, the students are given appreciation and that is rewarded. What kind of reward that you can give? By giving certificate. So every month you distribute certificate for, say, for example, the most responsible student in the classroom, or the student who are really a friend, everybody's friend, for example. So the character that you think need to be improved. So say, for example, if you are dealing with the student who are jealous before, you give them that treatment, and finally after that, they are become a kind of independent. So at the end of the one month, you can give your student a kind of certificate. You can say, oh, way to go certificate is given to you because of being independent in one week or in 1 month. The student will be really like it. They really enjoy, they really appreciate it. They like it so much. If you give your student a kind of that certificate, what you can do is that you make a kind of policy where every, say, if for example you do it every month you can make a kind of assembly, you can make a kind of gathering where you are able to distribute any kind of certificate of character or appreciation for those who are really improving in their character, improving in their behavior. In that case, your student will be able to change themselves. That's best practices that I do, that I did not only in university, but also in kindergarten and primary school. Even in Undixa, we have not only me before do that in my classroom before when I was in the head of department, but also we give the student now also giving a kind of certificate to their lecturers. So the lecturers are also challenged to be better and better, right? For those who are really very on time, to those lecturers who are very on time, the lecturers who are very blah, blah, blah. So they have different category and they give it to us on certain occasion. That is very useful and very meaningful. You need to try that one and try to see the impact of those one. If, for example, you appreciate your student, right? Is it clear, everyone? Right. Okay. Before we end, I would like you to conclude. What do we study this session? Anybody can tell me, please?
Me, ma'am.
Yes, please. Paria.
Okay. So they need to make try to management of teaching and learning based on students needed to enhance their skill of English. That's my perspective, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, very good, Paria. Any other addition that you would like to have? What kind of differentiation that you can use? What kind of differentiation that you can use? There are 3 kinds of differentiation. What is that? Krisia?
Differentiation that we can make, that's from the content, process, and the product.
Very good. What need to be considered in doing those differentiation?
The readiness,
interest and profile.
Yes, very good. Readiness, interest, and
Profile.
Profile of the student. Yes, very good. Okay, that is the session that we have. So I would like to give you later a guideline of how to develop technology-based kind of teaching. I will give you the step of conducting or making using Kahoot and word wall, and I would like you to make it yourself. And later in session 4, you have to show it to me to do presentation, what kind of games or what kind of games that you can make using those one. Are you ready? Because I have to give score, right? I give you 2 weeks to prepare about this one, and later you have to show it to me because I need to give a kind of score to my partner, Ibu Miss Rita. And then next week, I will give you one method of teaching that is also very highly needed at the moment, not only in Indonesia, but also in Asia, because I have a kind of request to teach about this one from other countries, especially before I teach joint teaching with Filipino University about teaching students in inclusive classroom, how this to be done. This is also very current issues, and I hope that you are able to also have a kind of ideas how you are able to teach student of special need in inclusive classroom. We are talking about this next week, and later in the last session, because I only teach you 4 sessions, in the last session you have to do kind of presentation to apply Kahoot and word wall for your teaching. Are you ready? Yes, I hope that you enjoy your time with me. Do you think that you have good time?
Yes, ma'am, we had a very good
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the time with me because you know what, I just try to be able to give you not only the in terms of theory, but also how you are able to practically implement what we just discussed about. So then you are able to have a kind of prediction. If, for example, you are able to do it later in your classroom, so you can predict what must be considered, what must be avoided, what must be done. So you are able to do it. Okay, thank you everyone for the time that we have. I see you again next week. So please, if you want to study more about what are the existing method of teaching, I give you my book that is in Bahasa Indonesia. So you can read more about that one. Easier for you to understand. You want to know more, what is the difference between approach, method, and technique? You can read it in chapter 1, I think chapter 1, chapter 2 of the book. You can read it in there. What are the technique that you have been learn when you are in S1 degree? If you want to refresh your reading, you can also read that one in the chapters of my book. So what I'm emphasizing in this Zoom session is those who are really current issues at the moment, which is not in the book yet. So the current issues like we discussed before, and today we are discussing about differentiated instruction, and next week we are discussing about teaching student in inclusive classroom, and the week 4 will be your presentation about technology-based instruction. So if you want to know to do more than say, for example, oh, I have been doing a kind of what do you call Kahoot and WordWall, I do something else. You are also what is it? Welcome to present or to show it to me the method of teaching that you have other than those things, which is technology based. Okay, see you again next time. Thank you so much, everyone. My apology if something is not convenient for you. I don't do it on purpose, so I just try to do my best to serve you better. Right, thank you, everyone. See you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day.
You too.